Welcome to the Best of the Marc Berman Radio Show podcast. On today's flashback, we go to the year 2015. My interview with ukulele virtuoso and composer Jake Shimabukuro. By the way, Jake is a ukulele virtuoso, and today I was corrected. And now I know how to exactly pronounce the name of this instrument. And you'll find out also in this interview.
Jake Shimabukuro has been called the Jimi Hendrix of the ukulele. His new CD, Travel, is available on iTunes, Amazon, or JakeShimabukuro.com. Jake has performed for the Queen of England, performed with some of the biggest names in the music industry, and his previous CD went to, yes, number 2 in Billboard's top world albums. People began to look, listen, and believe when his YouTube video of George Harrison's When My Guitar Gently Weeps went into the ionosphere on YouTube. The website, now get a pen, people, is Jake, SHIMABUKURO.com. And the same thing for Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Please welcome to the Marc Berman Show, ukulele virtuoso, Jake Shimabukuro.
Hey, Mark,
hi, Jake.
how's it
Welcome.
going, man? Wow, what an intro. Thank you.
No, well, what a guy. Seriously, where are you from?
I'm from Hawaii. I was born and raised in Honolulu.
Boy, Hawaii is getting a lot of attention these days with the Lava movie, and now you. This is incredible. Growing up in Hawaii, who did you listen to, and which influence stands out the most with you?
Well, I mean, I started out just listening and playing traditional Hawaiian music. You know, people like, I'm sure you're familiar with his, and his version of Over the Rainbow. And,
yeah.
I mean, those were all the people that I grew up listening to, his stuff, and Eddie Kamai, the Sons of Hawaii, just a lot of great music.
Okay, we have to do something here. I've been saying it and calling it a ukulele, and I just found out I'm wrong. So before I use the name again, how do you pronounce this 4-stringed instrument?
Yeah, well, it's actually made up of 2 Hawaiian words, which is uku and lele. And uku means flea in Hawaiian, and lele means jumping. So it's really the jumping flea. And it got its name because I guess your fingertips look like jumping fleas, along the fretboard.
So it's ukulele.
It's ukulele. Ukulele.
Okay. I might go back to the other way, because if I were to do that, they'd be looking at me like, hey, homie, what are you talking about? I don't know what that is.
So I know exactly. It's just for me, I have to say it that way. Otherwise, they won't let me back into the aisle if they catch me saying it wrong.
You're an impressive guy. I mean, there was a documentary about your life. Can you tell us a little bit about it and where we can find that?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was on Netflix for a long time, and I know recently they took it off, but it was a PBS special, and it was called Jake Shimabukuro Life on 4 Strings, and they basically covered my career and my personal life, for a span of, almost 2 years. And it was the perfect timing, because this was a few years ago, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and that's when my career was just kind of taking off and things were starting up. So, it was a great experience, and and I've been, ever since then, I've just been continuing to travel and tour and release records, so it's been fun, and it's been a blast.
Good segue, because your previous CD, you said travel and produce records. Your previous CD was produced by a heavyweight and featured some high-profile guests. Who did that CD with you? Who produced that?
Yeah, it was Alan Parsons.
Wow.
The Alan Parsons. That's what I said, And it was the craziest thing, because he came to a few of my concerts, and then one night, before my show, he invited me to dinner. So I went out and had dinner with him. I was so nervous. But then he turns to me and he told me that he would love to produce my next record. And I didn't know if he was being serious or not. But of course I said, "Oh man, that'd be awesome." And 6 months later, we had that record, and it was called Grand Ukulele, and that was about a little over 3 years ago. So it's been a while since I released a new one. So this Travels record is the first one since that Alan Parsons one.
Can you shred with 4 strings?
Well,
I know who your influences are.
Yeah, well, I grew up listening to a lot of guys like like of course Eddie Van Halen and Satriani, all those guys, Al Di Meola, so I mean I used to love doing all those, stuff like
wow. Did you just do that?
I'm sorry?
You've got to be kidding me. You just did that, right, live? That was great. That was
yeah.
Come on, that was awesome.
But I think because I was mentioning that I started out playing a lot of traditional Hawaiian music, but then when I got older and once I realized that I could do stuff like, like stuff like that.
Okay, they were the first things that you did. They were the first. When you picked it up, they were probably the first things that you did, because doesn't every kid do that?
Smoke on the water, sunshine of your love.
Oh, man, come on. That's... You also produced soundtracks for Japanese films before you broke out with the YouTube video, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that's when my career started, actually. My career started in Japan, and it's because the ukulele was so popular in Japan that I would go over and I would, record music and do concerts and all that. But, it wasn't until, I think, 2006, I think is when I had a video on YouTube, that went viral. And that's what, that's when my career really broke outside of Japan, and I started touring, the U.S. and Europe and Australia, Asia, all that. So, that one video really changed my life.
Well, actually, it also changed other things like YouTube, because it was one of the first videos that went into the ionosphere and went viral. And how did you choose it? The song is George Harrison's "Haunting," While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Was that a favorite of yours? Is it something that just was something, I gotta put this down and get it on YouTube and out in the world?
Yeah, well, I was always a huge fan of, the Beatles and George Harrison in particular, because, he had had a passion, for the ukulele. Like he seriously loved the ukulele, and he was, just a great ambassador of the instrument. So I've always loved, covering his tunes and things like, like Here Comes the Sun or something. So While My Guitar Gently Weeps was just another one of my favorites, because that song really rocked hard, and Eric Clapton plays the guitar solo on that, so I thought, that'd be such a cool song to cover on the ukulele. So I played that, and it was for a TV show actually, and someone took that video clip and put it on YouTube, and then it went viral, so I tell people that I kind of feel like George Harrison kind of had a little hand in that, because he loved the ukulele, and he was a big fan of the ukulele, and it was one of his songs. So I was like, I think it was like, his spirit came down, and he made everyone download that video when it came out.
We only have a couple seconds left with Jake Shimabukuro. Listen, let's talk about this CD. It's awesome. You're very diverse in your latest, available on iTunes and Amazon. And can you tell us about travels and the inspiration for this latest CD?
Yeah, well, this is, like I said, my first album in a few years. And in the last few years, I've been traveling a lot, touring a lot. So, this album just kind of reflects all the experiences and opportunities, that I've had. And it covers everything from very traditional Hawaiian tunes to more Japanese influenced tunes to some European tunes. And I do a couple covers on there. One is Rider, by War, kind of more of a East LA rock thing, and then like a Motown thing. I covered I'll Be There by the Jackson 5. And then there's just other fun tunes on there, something that has kind of more of a calypso feel, some very rock-oriented stuff. I also have some electric ukulele distortion, riff in there. So, yeah, so it's got a little bit of everything, there's a piece called Red Eye that's kind of a very more reggae-influenced tune,
And therein the diversity of this track. You have to pick it up on iTunes and Amazon, and you can go to the website as well. Jake, we only have a minute left. I have to ask you, your tour is, and I just looked at your tour schedule, you are going to need a vacation. To my listeners, this guy works every night. I mean, and you're playing a different city every night. You're not doing a week in a place. I mean, you're working every night. Is there a venue on the planet that is a goal for you to walk out on that stage and perform?
Oh, man. Gosh. Carnegie Hall.
That's a good one. You performed with the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra, correct?
Yes, uh-huh.
And so that would be apropos. Where I would like to see you is Red Rocks in Colorado.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be
now
awesome.
We're heard across the country, but we're based here at the Jersey Shore in Atlantic City. So where I'd really like to see you, honestly, one of our beach concerts. They draw 100,000 people.
Oh wow!
I would love that. Would be so amazing being on the Atlantic Ocean here in Atlantic City and having you up there in front of all these people. That would just be amazing. I want to thank you for spending a few minutes on the Marc Berman Show. Again, if you want to find everything out about Jake Shimabukuro, you have to go to the website. I spelled it earlier, but here's what to do, people. If you forget, just put in Jake and then spell it the way you think in Google. He comes up number one. For any way you want to spell it the way you think it sounds, just go there. He comes up number one, and just click it. It's him, and you'll go there, and you'll see everything that he's doing. And so, Jake, I want to thank you.
Aloha, this is Jake Shimabukuro, and you're listening to The Marc Berman Show.
We listen to The Marc Berman Radio Show.
Why? Most of what we find on terrestrial radio to be stale and pretty much sucks.
The Marc Berman Show sucks less.
Listen anywhere. We live in Los Angeles and listen at BermanLive.com.